This is Amanda, and you're watching my art channel. I'm here today with a few things that I've been thinking of putting together right now. And so I'm here doing the 10th segment of my first ever gouache painting of a photo I took from Virginia Beach. And I take photos and then I edit the colors, I brighten it, up the contrast, make it warmer or cooler, whatever I feel like doing. And then I like to paint what I photograph. So now that I've gotten this far on this, I made another video on the elements of art, and I wanted to briefly refresh your memory on that. And I want to show you how I go from a photograph to a painting. And you've seen my videos of me painting this, and I wanted to show you how I pick apart what I see so I know what to do. So there's something called the elements of art. They are the components of things that make up a work of art. And these are line, shape, color, value, which is the relative light and dark, like shading, and then texture. Texture can be implied, which means it's flat, but it looks like it could be bumpy, or it can be actual, which is if I were to glue sand down here, it would be actual texture. So contrast is not an element of art, but I find it extremely important in all my paintings, all my works of art. I love contrast. So when I look at a photo, or when I look at things out in the world, if you're gonna do this, if you're gonna paint or draw from a reference, I would say that you want to learn to identify, so we'll start with line. I would look at this and I would see the major lines that stick out to me. If you might look at this and see some, different lines might stick out to you, and that's totally fine. So for me, when I look at this, you just pick out the major ones, like 3 to 4 or 5 of the major lines. I see a horizon line, I see a white diagonal line here, a slightly diagonal line here, and horizontal sweeping water lines. And then I see a horizontal pier, and then I see this white angle diagonal line here. Those are the major lines that I see. And then I would move on to shape. What are the 3 or 4 or 5 major shapes that I see in this photograph? This top section is a rectangle. This section here, though, do over and over, that's a triangle. This here, that's a triangle to me. And then here, up and over, that's a triangle. So those are the major shapes that I see. You might see something different. You might see different triangles somewhere, or you might see what's it called, a rhombus here, or a parallelogram here. Whatever shapes you see, that's what you see, and it's so cool. And then I look at color. What are the 3 or 4 or 5 major colors that stand out, so I know when I go through my paints what I need to pick out to do this. So I've had a lot of coffee, so I'm putting this together kind of hyperish. So when I look at this, what are the colors that I see? I see white here and white here. This is kind of a grayish, it's not really a major color. Brown is a major color. The ocean green is a major color. Blue, white, there's some black at the pier and these people. So blue, white, brown, and green. Those are the basic major colors, and I have them here. Green, brown, white, and then I have blue. And there is some pink that I added, but that's not a major color. And then value, lights and darks. I up the contrast in my my Apple iPhoto editing. You can just click contrast and it'll just make the lights and darks lighter and darker respectively. So the darkest parts are here, this wave right here, and then the pier. Those are really dark compared to the bright white of the wave here. And then this brown is pretty dark. And then the whole top half of the painting is relatively lighter. So the bottom is darker in value, and from here up is lighter in value. This sunny section and this wave being the highest key. That's what you call the lightest shades. High key and low key are the darker sections. So that's value. You want to quickly identify what's the lightest and darkest sections. And texture, there's not too much texture in this painting. It will be implied. The waves crashing, you can sort of see that you know what that would feel like if you were to touch it, but pretty much this is going to be a smooth painting. So that's not really an element of art that I'm concerned with when I would look to identify these components in this piece. And then, like I said, contrast, I use it in everything. Right here is very dark next to a very light area. That's gonna make it stand out. The stronger contrast, the more kind of impactful or eye-catching it will be. But sometimes you do want just a subtle, soft artwork. And then, let's see. I've already gone over contrast, and if I wanted to show you another example of how to pick apart colors, I'm gonna do this as a painting, so I'll just set this here. So to go over this again, if I'm gonna pick apart what I see in terms of elements, what would be like 3 major lines here? Well, we have these diagonal lines. In the short, there's a horizontal line that's, the horizon line's always a major line. This bridge is a pretty major line. It's right in the middle, so it's eye-catching. Diagonal, diagonal. So just these diagonal lines and the horizon line are just the major lines of the painting. And then shape. It's pretty similar. The elements of this painting are very similar to this painting. I took this photo too. So these elements are very similar. Shape, again, we have another rectangle. I don't know what you could consider this, sort of like a triangle, roughly. There's a triangle here, and this is also a rectangle. And this could be a triangle. And in terms of value, this could be a triangle. See how this would make it a purple triangle and then a yellow section. Color, the major colors I see are orangey and yellowy, black with yellow, pink, and purple. It's pretty simple colors. Value, I upped the contrast on this. And something you can do if you're having a hard time deciphering the level of contrast in a color photo, you can print out the same photo in black and white, and it'll show you more of what the lighter areas are and what the darker areas are. So you can identify this a little bit more, because I can see here when it's the color version that it looks more blended. So you might be like, where's the lightest part, here and here. And it's a good thing to do sometimes, because in this part right here especially, I can see the lighter motion lines a lot better. For the element of line, this highlights them better, I think, than this color version. So, and then this one has texture. The tree has texture in it. And then there's texture over here. And then there's contrast too, because this is very smooth looking. Very smooth and flowy. But then this is kind of rough and like bristly looking. So we have smooth and bristly contrasting implied texture, I think. This is how it stands out to me. You might see something different. Like you might see, I don't know how you might see it, but you could see it different than I do. But I'm teaching you how I see the world, and how when I look at something, I know how I would go about painting it. So yeah. And then the contrast, again, I love contrast. There's strong contrast, much stronger in this picture than in this one. This one is kind of harmonious. Yes, this is darker. Yes, this is lighter, but it's pretty similar. This, it's like we have white and black pretty much. Yeah, it's like a light yellow, but this is very dark. And then we have very dark next to very light, especially visible here. It's strong contrast in this one compared to this one. And I look forward to painting this. This is in Oregon City, and I have a really good memory of being here with my ex-boyfriend. And yeah, so that's that. I wanted to just show you this just to recap. And yeah. So then I'll go into, and you can pick this book up. It's called Art Fundamentals. This was my two-dimensional design textbook in college, and I love it. It teaches the elements. There's more elements. There's also form, but form is kind of like how all these relate to each other and they combine into one. Like the basic form of that. I didn't explain that right at all, but I've had a lot of coffee. Sorry. And really fast, I wanted to show you this artist who I love, P.A. Mondrian. In this textbook has a little art, so I love this painting right here. This is P.A. Mondrian, The Gray Tree. I think this is stunning. It has, if I were to talk about the elements of art relating to this, obviously line is a major element. Strong lines, it's just gorgeous. Shape, there's different shapes in here that form the tree. Color, there's not color in this, so that would not be in there. Value, lights and darks, and texture, kind of implied texture. It kind of looks a little rough, but I just love this piece. And excuse me, I burped, coffee burps. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. This is another one of his. It's really cool. But he's mostly famous for these types of things. Very modern, strong edges. These are all his works. So I just wanted to show you those. Oh, this chair is not his, but it is inspired clearly by PA. So that's that. I just wanted to recap and give you a little more instruction because my last videos have just been about me painting with this. And so I'll move on to what I'm doing. Last night I filmed the 9th segment and I gave an introduction and then I put in headphones so I could listen to music. So it's a silent video and I just wanted to listen to some deadmau5. And it was pretty good. I did that while working on putting in the lightest sections here and really trying to enhance the shoreline and get everything the way I want it, because I want to put in the people soon. And I also started to bring up this wave line again because it needs to be higher, because I want to have room to give this light wave all the space that it deserves. I don't want to have to cram it in because I made this line too low. I would rather completely redo this to give the white wave the space that it needs to be honored in my painting. And that is pretty much that. Still just sticking with the white and the green and the brown. And I've just been trying to do this, so. But last night's video, I realized that my hand might have been in the way, so I don't know if you could see what I was doing. So today I'm going to paint on the floor, I think, so you can see what I'm doing. Maybe move my table back a little bit so I can have space. You didn't see that. It didn't happen. Nothing happened at all here. Okay, so perfect. And I have fresh water. It's always good to start with clean water when you paint. And don't leave water that has paint in it out because your cat might drink it. And that's not good for her. And I have a variety of brushes that I'm using, but I'll probably stick with this smaller one for the fine details. Maybe this one. And I was using this square one, this little flat one. And it's coming along, so that's cool. I have some new subscribers. Thank you so much. It makes me happy to teach you what I know, and it's very cool. And I have a plastic turkey container lid that I use as a palette. It has some dried paint on it. And so I'm still thinking about how to do the clouds. I don't know how I'm going to do them, so I've still been thinking about it. And they'll probably be done last. And today I'm just going to keep working on the shoreline here. And I started putting in the white. There's more to put in. And then if I can, I would like to start on this wave here. And then this whole back part needs deepening a little bit. So I have a ways to go, but you gotta just start somewhere. You gotta just do it. Excuse me. And then last night, when I finished painting, I noticed that the sections that I was working on were too white. So when I was off camera, I went over them a little bit with a very light layer of the greenish brown, and it toned them down a little bit. So that's good. And I got my paint, I got my water. I like to sit on the floor when I paint. I don't need an easel. My friend got me this easel, which I do use, but I'm happy just being on the floor. I could just put this up against a wall and that would be fine. And then I like to sometimes lie down while I paint. So I think this might work. And then you'll be able to see what I'm working on. Okay, cool. How to position everything. And I'm noticing that it is possible to build up in slow layers. And I've said this in another video that you want to let the gouache dry completely before doing another layer. Otherwise, you will pick up some of the paint that you put down, and it becomes patchy and hard to work with when that happens. So let it dry, and then you can just slowly build it up, and it works really well. I gotta make sure my candle doesn't set my apartment on fire. I make videos, that would not be good. I like being close to my paintings. It's like I'm in the world almost. Almost. And pretty much I'm just putting the colors where I see it. You know, you don't have to make it harder than it is. Things are what they are. Um, I overthink everything and I worry a lot, but I have to fight it every step of the way, every day of my life. And I do, and then I make art sometimes. So just stick with it. Just don't give up on it. Never give up on it. Even if it seems like it's too hard or too complicated, put it down for a few days if you have to. And, you know, it's just a painting. It's not like, it's not an indicator of your self-worth or anything. If you don't get it right the first or second or third try, you know, that's fine. Neither do I. I've gone over the same section so many times, so just take joy in the process rather than trying to focus on an end result, you know. Yeah. Sorry, I've had coffee. I ramble sometimes. Trying to balance it out with water. And usually I can blend with my finger right away, um, but not with this. It soaks into the paper too fast. Way too fast. Picked up some of the paint right there. I don't know if you can see. It's so tricky. One brush stroke too far. Like, how do you judge what to do? I like this very much. Right there, it picked up the brown, so it's like not really white at all. So I'll let it dry. I'm going to redo this section here. There's so many details. And I'm not trying to do them all, but I'm just trying to get a general idea of where to put the lights and darks in. But still a lot. Just do a little random squigglies here. 46. Okay, I gotta stop here, and then I'll start again in 1 minute.